Hey, I'm Siobhan, and I love talking about all the things related to freedom and personal growth. And I'm on a journey to redefine freedom on my own terms as I become the woman I desire to be. Each week, I'll share in real time what I'm learning as I do my inner work while creating a safe space for my listeners to feel seen. If you desire to be free and live a life that feels good to you, then you're in the right place for beautiful conversations that's going to support you on your journey to freedom. Welcome to the Siobhan J. Middleton podcast. Now let's start the show. Hey, y'all. Welcome back to another episode of my podcast. Per usual, I am so happy that you are here again for another week. Y'all, it has been forever and a day since I have been on the mic. The month of August was emotionally taxing. There was so much going on. And honestly, when my life feels overwhelming, I have to take a pause and focus on the things that needed my attention. And so if y'all have been following for a while, y'all already know my baby girl was preparing to go to college, and y'all, she is now living in Brooklyn, New York. So I want to just give you a life update and let you know what has been going on and just work on finding my flow back to podcasting. I'm excited to record again because, y'all, I have so much to say, so much to say. And it just feels good to just take a moment to get back on the mic, express what's going on, and find my rhythm from there. I don't have nan notes. I am just going to go off the cusp and whatever comes up. The main life update that has happened is, as I mentioned, my daughter is now officially a college student. And so the month of August, we spent having a graduation party for her, all the appointments that she needed to take care of before leaving, buying things, packing, preparing the home, and just also a lot of conversations. And I'm glad that I carved out the time for her as we navigate the new dynamics of our relationship and living arrangements, and me now mothering a college student and a junior in high school. And I'm finding my way. I really am. And I'm learning a lot about myself. And I even learned a new term off of TikTok called open nester. I had already been aware of the term empty nester. And then even when I wrote a newsletter last week, I was like, oh, I'm empty nester-ish because my son is still with me part-time because I co-parent. But then I saw this lady on TikTok mention open nester. And I'm like, oh, let me look that up. And so I'm going to read the definition to you. Open nesting is the journey of rediscovering and reinventing our lives after our grown children leave the nest. And that is exactly where I'm at in my life. So let me first tell you about college drop-off and all of that, and then we'll circle back to the open nesting. So my daughter was due to move in to college on August 19th. So what I decided to do is book us an Airbnb in Jersey for the weekend. So then that way we had time to spend together as a family, get anything that we needed to get while we were there, because y'all, my car was packed to capacity. I did not know my daughter owned so much stuff. It was ridiculous. We were packed tight the whole way there, right? But anywho, so we're in Jersey and we're there from we're there from Friday until Monday. So Friday we get in and it's a beautiful Airbnb, 3-bedroom house located in a very beautiful neighborhood. The host was amazing. He even invited me back to stay for a free night. And I said, oh, absolutely. I will take you up on that. So we were in a beautiful community. And so the first night, my son wanted to go skateboarding. So we found a skate park that was close by. And then my daughter and I went to this restaurant that we went to before called The Yard, which is absolutely delicious. If you are in Jersey, I believe it's downtown Jersey, is where the restaurant is located. Absolutely delicious and excellent customer service. So that's how we spent Friday night. And then Saturday, we had so many errands to run. So again, my son, he did not want to do all the girl stuff that we needed to do. So we found him another skate park and he did that for the day. And then my daughter and I, we ended up going to IKEA, Target, and then we also went to the mall because there were things that we needed to pick up. And then we ate dinner, I'm sure, and just relaxed for the rest of the evening. And I remember on Friday, like I could see how her anxiety was starting to show. And it was because you know how you look forward to something for forever, right? And you're working towards that thing. But then when you finally are in that moment, it's overwhelming because it's the very thing that you've been working towards and now you're experiencing it. And so she was having that moment because she knew that she wasn't going back to Cleveland. Like she was about to be living in New York. And so we kind of worked through her feelings there. And then Saturday, we had a really beautiful conversation. Sunday morning, we get up early because the college was about 40 minutes away from our Airbnb. And so we got up, we drove there, all the excitement, like, oh my God, today's the day, we're about to do this. And we pull in to the campus, and the way that it's set up, you have to drop all of your things off, then go park your car, and then come back and take your things to the dorm. And I'm like, first of all, it was like 90 plus degrees, so hot, so humid, and we had a long way to walk. And I'm noticing as people are getting out of their cars, they have wagons and they have dollies. And I'm like, I didn't get the memo. I didn't know that we needed carts. So that was a thing. But anywho, we unload all of her stuff. My ex was there as well. And so we carried all of her stuff to her dorm room. Now, here's the kicker. We had her room number. And as we're walking towards the dorm, the security guard was like, oh, what's your room number? We tell him the room number. He's like, oh, you can go in this way, and then I'll let you up this private elevator so that way you don't have to wait in a long line. We're like, okay, cool. So we unpack, get all of her stuff in her room. Now, my daughter was assigned a quad. When we get to her room, it's actually a double where she has this huge room. Then there's a hallway and a bathroom, and then the roommate would have a huge room as well. And I'm like, I thought you had a quad, but okay. So we're unpacking, I'm cleaning. I mean, because you got to deep clean when you are setting up everything. And so I'm doing all the cleaning. We're unpacking, unloading, putting everything where it needs to be. And time is going by, and there's no roommate in sight. And not only was there no roommate, there also was no one on the floor. And it just seemed really strange for it to be move-in day for all the freshmen, no roommate, and no one on the floor. But we continue to set up like, all right, well, maybe they're just late, what have you. So my ex and my son had went to go get something to eat. And my daughter and I went to the student union because there was about to be a reception for parents starting soon. And so we just happened to start talking to this lady, and we're like, the floor that my daughter is on, her roommate hasn't gotten there yet. And she was like, oh, well, what building are you in? So we told her the building. And then she was like, well, how many roommates do you have? And I'm like, well, it's only set up. I said, she's supposed to be in a quad, but the way the room is set up that we're in is set up for a double. And she was like, well, you would pay more for a double. I said, oh, no, I'm not trying to pay more. We want the quad that she signed up for. And she was like, I think you need to go to residence hall because there must be something going on. And I'm like, yeah, and there's no one on her floor. It's like a ghost town. So we ended up walking over to residence hall. It took forever, but we got there and we started talking to the guy that was over it. And I'm describing the whole situation. And he was like, okay, what's your name? And so she gives her name. He was like, oh, no, your roommate is here. Your roommate is already set up in the room. And he was like, and I know that building in particular because I helped set it up. And we're like, no, there's no one on the floor. He's like, that's strange. So they call over to the dorm. And sure enough, we find out that my daughter is in the wrong room. They're the part of the building that we went to set up, which had the same room number as her assigned number. But this part of the building is basically under construction. And we had to pack up all of her stuff and move it to the other side of the building. Now, keep in mind, we don't have a wagon. We don't have a dolly. We were eventually able to check out a cart so that we could wheel things over. But just imagine being all set up in your room only to have to take everything down and move it to the correct room. And I could feel my daughter's anxiety. And I'm like, listen, it's going to be fine. It's going to be okay. We're going to move everything back where it needs to be, and you're going to be completely fine. And I stayed neutral the whole time because I do understand what it's like on move-in day. It's a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, a lot of worry, and somebody has to stay calm. I was just like, you know what? It's okay. We're going to get everything together and we're going to go to the correct room. And she was feeling big feelings, but I stayed neutral. So then that way she had space to have her feelings and everybody is not like, oh my God, and complaining and all the things. So no one had time for that. So we get everything situated to the correct room. And then she's having more big feelings, but I'm like, it's okay. Everything is going to be fine. We still got to go to Target again to get more things. Eventually, we got it all set up and she's in the correct room in a quad. She has a roommate and then they're separated by a bathroom. And then on the other side, there's 2 other roommates. And yeah. So once we got her all set up in the room, me, my daughter, and my son, we went to Target. And we needed to get some more things that we forgot because you don't know what you need until you get to the room. You're like, oh man, I forgot this, or I didn't know I needed this, yada, yada, yada. So we drive over to Target and we are in Brooklyn, New York, right by Madison Square Garden. Across the street is Target. And Target is not like, I don't know where y'all live. The Target that I'm used to, it's in a plaza. You go in, it's the big store. No, this Target is on the main street. And it's inside of a mall. So I found a parking spot on the main street, directly across the street from the stadium, and I have to parallel park. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. I barely can, well, let me not say barely. I'm good at parallel parking. I'm not great. And it's not my preferred way of parking. However, parking on New York City streets is the worst. It took me, and I kid you not, no exaggeration, at least 20 minutes to get inside this parking spot. And there was a guy in his car behind me watching this all go down. It was so stressful. I said, if I smoked cigarettes, I would have smoked 5 cigarettes at a time once I was done. But whatever. Finally get the car parked. We go into Target, and it's on the 2nd floor of the mall. And then when you go inside, there's another level. So Target is then on another floor. It is a lot. It's intense. We get everything that we need. It's so busy in there. And the way that this Target checkout line is set up, it's like a TSA line. And I'm like, what the hell? And then not only that, you have to buy your bags. I'm from Cleveland. We don't have to buy our bags here. But apparently in big cities, you got to buy all your bags. We have so much stuff, buying all the bags, fine. Then when you leave Target, you cannot take your cart. So we had to carry all of our bags back to the car. And it was just, oh my gosh. By the end of the day, I was exhausted. I had over 17,000 steps for the day because I had done so much walking. It was hot. It was a lot. We get back to her dorm. We get everything situated. And at this point, it's probably a little after 5. And she had dinner at the Student Union that was assigned at 6 o'clock. And I said, okay, we're going to leave when it's time for you to go to dinner. And I told her, I said, but if you want me to come back tomorrow, I'll come back tomorrow for you because I wasn't leaving until the next day. So we cried in each other's arms and it was a lot. That is when all of the emotions hit me because I am leaving my baby in New York City and I won't see her again until Thanksgiving. What? And let me just give a little context. My children didn't do sleepovers. It was very rare. And if they did, it was a family member or a very close friend. This separation is real, right? But we cried, we left. It was hard, but we got through it. My son and I went and got something to eat at this spot called, I forgot, chicken something. And it was really, really good. And then we headed back to Jersey. And on our way home, it was a flood, like flood warning, and it was storming. So it actually took us way longer to get home or back to the Airbnb than it was supposed to, but it was fine. We were, thankfully, I know a lot of cars that weekend were flooded, so they were underwater, which was wild. Thankfully, we didn't have that experience. And then the next day, like early in the morning, I called my daughter to check on her. She did well. And I was like, okay, we're going to get back on the road. But if you want me to come back to Brooklyn today, I will. She's like, no, I'm fine. It'll be good. I said, okay, cool. So my son and I, we go and we get breakfast. I get my coffee, all the things, and we get on the road. We get back to Cleveland around 5, I think around 5-ish. And I had told my daughter, like, I'll call you when I get back to Cleveland. And I call her and she picks up the phone and I can hear the tears. And I'm like, what's going on? She was like, I'm here all by myself. Y'all left. I don't have any friends. I'm in New York. Like, I don't know if I can do this. And me being me, I want to fix this problem, but also there's not a problem to fix. This is a part, and this is what I explained to her, of the college experience. And I told her, it's okay. You're going to feel homesick for a while. It is an adjustment. You are in a new city. You are in a new environment by yourself. It makes sense that you're having all these feelings. It's going to be fine. And over time, you're going to find your people. You're going to find your friends. Remember what we've always talked about. And I was able to calm her down. And that was that. My son ended up going to my ex's house. And so I dropped him off and then I went home. And when I walked into my apartment door, y'all, I just started crying. Because reality set in that I was now living on my own. And the silence in my home was so loud. My daughter's presence, I couldn't feel it. And you could feel her absence. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like what? And I haven't ever lived on my own for real. Like, I went from my grandmother's home to getting married to having a family. And even having my own apartment for the last couple of years, my daughter lived with me full time. And then my son, he is here part-time, right? And I haven't had long periods of time just to myself. And so this is the first time. And the separation anxiety was real. The acknowledging and realizing that I am open nesting, right? And then I think the other part is that I knew this was coming, but I didn't know, obviously, how I was going to feel. So I tossed and turned all night long. I didn't really want to talk to anyone. I didn't want any distractions. Like, if I wanted to hang out with someone, I totally could, but I didn't want that. And I'm like, now you're on you're starting over, but you're on a new self-discovery journey. Your identity is shifting. And we are going to sit in all these big feelings that we're having. We're going to acknowledge them, and we're not going to distract ourselves by the things that we would have distracted ourselves with before. And that is what I've been doing. So it's been a week and a half, and we all have made some progress. I'll say that. My daughter has made some friends. So she's friends with all of her roommates. And then I think there's another friend in her dorm that they all hang out and they go to the Brooklyn Museum and they get on the subway and they do all these different things. And so she's been having a good time. I will also say she's been spending money. And I'm like, listen here, you cannot be careless with money. You have to budget your money. So that has been a whole conversation. And we're doing good. And I'm proud of her. She started classes this past Monday. And she's been doing really good adjusting. She has a part-time job on campus, which is really cool. And she's seen her first New York rat and roaches. Oh my gosh. And she was like, Mom, I literally let out a scream. So it's just been so fun hearing her experiences. And I'm so excited every time I get to talk to her, like whether we're FaceTiming or there's texting or she's calling me and she's updating me with her day. And I'm just so damn grateful. Like, oh my gosh. And we have such a beautiful relationship, but I feel like our bond is even closer now, which feels really, really good. And one of the things she told me
a few days ago, well, she has said this before she left, but she was like, Mom, you are a really great parent. Like, you are a great parent. And she always tells me how happy she is that I'm her mother. And then this past Tuesday, she had therapy. And she was like, yeah, Mom, I've talked about you my whole therapy session. I said, oh, really? What? What did you talk about? And she was like, I kept telling my therapist how grateful I am that you're my mother and how all of the things that you have taught me, like, I can hear them now. And she was like, I think about you throughout the day. Like, I wonder what my mom is doing, or my mom taught me this, or my mom said this. And she was like, and Mom, I'm really listening and I'm really applying what you've said. And she said, thank you so much for everything that you've done. And you've done so much. And I wrote you a gratitude letter. And y'all, this is the biggest accomplishment ever. You know, you want to believe that you've done a good job with your kids. But guess what? The way that you know it is when they're able to express it back to you. And I have struggled, honestly, like their whole childhood for the most part. Am I a good mom? I hope I'm being a good mom. I hope they're getting what they need. I hope when it's time to go out into the world without me, I hope that they're getting it. And my daughter and my son, but I'm just talking about her today, they are letting me know that I've done a good job. And the reason that I question how good of a mother I could be was because I didn't have the best growing up. And that affected me. And even in my marriage, when I was married, like, I was challenged in many ways, and I didn't like that. So I always second guessed myself, or I didn't feel like I was enough or doing a great job. My daughter has made it very clear to me that I've done an amazing job, and I can see the fruit of the seeds that I have planted in her and how she is navigating life, and she's taking care of herself, and she's figuring it out, and she's finding her way. And that is the best feeling ever. My son is adjusting very well. He started school this past Monday, and he is in this Excel Tech program, and he has his classes all set for high school, and he's looking for a part-time job, but he has a second interview coming up, so he's doing great, and I'm excited about how our relationship is going to develop even closer now that him and I have more one-on-one time together. And then as far as me, I am really grateful for this self-discovery journey, that I am getting to know myself in a deeper way. I am really learning my desires, what I want. And this is the thing, I didn't realize this, but I get it now. My children took up so much mental and emotional space that sometimes I couldn't hear myself. But now that it's just me in my home, I'm like, oh, I can hear my thoughts more clearly, and I'm navigating through life in a different way, and that feels very good. So I am really excited about this new chapter, this new identity, this new space of being a open nester-ish, because again, my son is still here with me part-time, and I'm excited about getting to know myself and what I like and don't like. And so one of the things I did over the last week is I painted my bathroom this beautiful, calm green, because I wanted my bathroom to feel like a retreat. I wanted it to feel very zen, very calming. And I'm so proud of that. And I not only did I paint the bathroom, but I painted the ceiling. So I drenched it. And this is my first time doing color drenching, and it's absolutely beautiful. I'll be sharing on TikTok and Instagram soon. But yeah, I'm getting to know myself. I'm reading books. You know, I'm doing the things that bring me joy and learning how to just be with myself. And it's a beautiful ride. And now that I have got my daughter settled in school and my son settled, and I'm figuring out, okay, Siobhan, what is it that you want for your life? How do you want these next couple of years to look? How do you want your day to look every day? And how are you tweaking that so it's more in line to how you want to feel? Now I can get back to podcasting and be more consistent on a weekly basis. I'm showing up on TikTok more. I'm showing up on Instagram. I'll be writing more newsletters, like really finding my flow. And one of the things that I did for the community is I created a digital resource library, because I have so much beautiful content to help people figure out how to live life on their own terms. And I created a resource library so that the things that you need to figure out how to be free, how to live your life the way that you want, I have a library for you. But the link for the digital resource library is in the show notes, which is SiobhanJMiddleton.com. And I'm excited, y'all. I'm excited. So I have so much to share, so many beautiful things coming up. A few weeks ago, I did a live workshop. And when I tell you it was so rich and so good, and so that kickstarted this drive to want to do more workshops virtually, to do some things in person. Y'all, I am ready. So make sure you subscribe to the podcast, share it with whomever you feel wants to live life on their own terms, and they want to see a beautiful example of someone doing that. If you're inspired by my work in any way, please treat me to a cup of coffee, 1, 2, 3, or 4. The link is always in the show notes. Go check out the digital resource library. If you're looking for a good book to read, I have my Amazon link in the show notes as well. And oh, by the way, don't forget to subscribe to my newsletter where I share more in depth about the things that I'm experiencing in life. And also you can find more resources from me. So you can find all of that by clicking the links in the show notes. I'm so happy to be back on the mic. I missed y'all for real, for real. It would bring me so much joy if you rate this podcast 5 stars, leave a review, share it wherever you share podcasts on social media. Even just text a link to a friend and say, hey, listen to this, check it out, all the good things. I'm so grateful to have you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much for being a supportive community. And until next time, I'm sending you so much love and light.